Welcome to Our Weird World. I'm your host, John Henson, and it is the final edition of our Summer of Cults series. This has been fun. This was everything that I thought it would be and more. Like, I had some fun. And oh boy, today I'm gonna have fun with this one. Why? Because it's a Japanese cult. And you know it's coming. You know it's gonna be coming at some point. I don't know when. I haven't rehearsed it. I haven't planned anything, but it's coming. And so today, to wrap up the Summer of Cults, we are looking at, I mentioned it last week, probably the most famous cult that we're covering in this series for sure. One of the most famous cults of all time, and that is the Aum Shinrikyo cult. Yeah, from Japan. So let's get into it.
Story time! Story time! Story time? Story time!
Chizuo Matsumoto. It's right there, out of the gate. He was born on March 2nd, 1955 in Yatsushiro, Japan. There's going to be a lot of it. I can see it coming. So, Chizuo Matsumoto, born on March 2nd, 1925 in Yatsushiro, Japan. That's the only way I can pronounce it. It's really good. He was born with infantile glaucoma, which ultimately caused him to lose all vision in one eye and severely impaired the vision in the other. So he's practically blind. Although his family was very poor, they were able to send Matsumoto and his brother, who was definitely totally blind, to a special school for blind children. Once inside the school, Matsumoto developed a superiority complex over the students, all because he could see slightly better than they could. It reminds me of that random Family Guy cutaway where Peter's like, "Oh man, I feel so great. Like I feel like a dwarf among midgets," and it's like the dwarf is just like 2 inches taller and can like reach things on the second shelf. It's stupid, but like that's how dumb this is, right? Like you're all blind, but Matsumoto was basically like, "Oh yes, I can see us right way better than all of the blind children in the school. I am better than them." And he just like, he became like out of the gate, basically became a cult leader. He forced kids to fight each other, and if he refused, he would just beat them himself. And I don't, how do you force blind kids to fight each other? They can't see each other. They're just swinging in air, and like maybe they kind of get, you put them close enough together that they like, I don't know, that's just dumb. But when he wasn't running this blind fight club, he was forcing kids to pay him so that he could go out and get them food and snacks, because again, he can see where he's going, kind of. The other ones can't. They're just kind of just sitting there, just all blind. And then Matsumoto's like, "Hey little kid, you give me your lunch money, I go out and I buy you a snack and then bring it back." And obviously he's charging extra, right? He's charging a convenience fee for these extra, snacks or whatever. But other than that, Matsumoto made great grades at the school, and he earned a black belt in judo. After graduating, Matsumoto applied to Tokyo University, where he hoped to begin law or medical school. But when he was denied, maybe because he was blind or I don't know, he instead went to a local community college to train as an acupuncturist. He became fascinated with traditional medicines like this. Traditional, like out here we would call this Eastern medicine. There, because they're already in the East, they just call it traditional medicine. And so he ultimately opened his own pharmacy in the town of Chiba, where he sold quote-unquote special Chinese herbal remedies. In 1976, Matsumoto tried to beat someone up and was subsequently arrested. Although he wasn't given jail time for the assault, Matsumoto was fined and lost his job at the pharmacy, forcing him to move back to Tokyo. While there, he married a girl that he had originally met in college named Tomoko Ishii, and the two went on to have 6 children together. After the wedding, Matsumoto got super into spiritual yoga and opened a new acupuncture clinic where he continued selling the same fake Chinese remedies. He was eventually arrested for selling those fake remedies and was sent to jail. And now, with no money and no job and a pretty, a growing criminal record, Matsumoto joined Agonshu, which was this new wave religious movement that took elements of Hinduism, Buddhism, and European doomsday prophecies and just kind of mushed them all together into this, really annoying quasi-cult. And so while in this group, Matsumoto experienced what he claimed was a great awakening that unlocked all of the cosmic energy that had been trapped at the base of his spine. Sure. He immediately left his family and fled to India, where he spent the next 3 years exploring his spirituality. He met the Dalai Lama, he studied at various Buddhist temples, and over time developed his own spiritual philosophy, which was pretty similar already to the Agonshu, set of beliefs that he was already involved with. In 1984, Matsumoto started his own group, Aum Shinrikyo, which means the Circle of Divine Wizards. That's pretty hardcore. And he opened up a yoga school with a publishing house to create literature to recruit new followers. He then returned to Tokyo with his family. I guess he reunited with his family the following year, where he began advertising photos of himself levitating in various magazines. Like, oh, look at what I can do with my greater spiritual power. A very big cosmic energy that was trapped in my spine right above my butthole. And I have released it. And it is now making me levitate like you see here. Come join my Aum Shinrikyo. And I will teach you how to levitate like me. Anyway, you get it, right? It apparently worked, because as his followers grew, he would then ultimately reveal that a deity had appeared before him at some point as he was walking along the ocean, calling him the god of light who leads the armies of the gods. And this deity also told Matsumoto that he had to fight a war to destroy the darkness in order to create the Buddhist kingdom of Shambhala. Okay. In 1986, Matsumoto changed his name to Shoko Asahara. That's how I'm going to refer to him after, because that's the title of the episode. That's how everybody knows him. So he changed his name to Shoko Asahara after claiming to have, quote unquote, a final enlightenment while meditating up in the Himalayan mountains. He then renamed the group Aum Shinrikyo, which means supreme truth, and definitely not as cool as Circle of the Divine Wizards. Like, I think you should have kept that. Circle of the Divine Wizards is so metal, bro. Anyway, and he started preaching on the streets of Tokyo about building a utopian commune. He preached a form of immediate enlightenment that basically bypassed all the rounds of reincarnation that Buddhists believed that people needed to go through to reach nirvana, and was just like, yeah, you don't have to do all of the reincarnation. You just go straight to nirvana. You just follow me with my butthole cosmic energy that I have released into the rest of my body. Anyway, he began claiming that he was the second coming of Jesus. Now we're just going to bring that into it, I guess. And that he could also travel through time. He latched onto the prophecies of Nostradamus, specifically that the world would end in 1999. Even more, he claimed that he was clairvoyant and could levitate whenever he wanted, even though he conveniently never really wanted to. Mr. Asahara, can you please show us your powers and levitate for us? Oh, no, I cannot levitate right now. It takes a lot of energy. Take a lot of cosmic energy. I had to build up the cosmic energy right above my butthole, and it take a very long time. And it is not the right time or place to do a levitating right now. And so basically, that's all he was doing. In 1987 now, Asahara became fascinated with the Hindu god Shiva and began preaching that salvation would only come after the world was destroyed and only be available to those in Aum Shinrikyo. Now, that's weird. If the world's destroyed, that would then stand to reason that no one is alive to be saved. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking the word destroyed, but this was what he was saying. Like, there's no salvation's no longer possible to anyone. All right, the world has to be destroyed, and then after that destruction, only the people in my cult are going to be eligible for salvation. He then predicted that Japan and the United States would start a war in 1997, so in a decade, that would ultimately lead to Armageddon. And all of this got thousands of Japanese people super interested in joining his cult. Members were then sent through a 3-part initiation sequence that ended with cutting off contact with all friends and family that made it super obvious that they were about to join a cult. Members also paid thousands of dollars for things like strands of Asahara's hair, his dirty bath water, and his own blood that they were then expected to consume. Ugh. How else are you supposed to get the cosmic energy, you guys? Although he taught abstinence as a way to achieve supernatural power, he offered quote-unquote transfer of energy sessions exclusively to female followers which obviously they were just tantric sex sessions because, of course, he's a cult leader. It's like, oh no, you must always refrain from having sex with everybody forever. That is how you retain all of your cosmic energy. However,
we'll be back after a quick break.
Hey, it's Alex Caggiatani
and Paul Richmond
from the Education News Comedy Quiz podcast called Some of the Above.
Each month, Alex and I invite you to play along with 2 special guest contestants from the world of education as we ask questions about the latest school news.
If you want to laugh while you learn and learn while you laugh, this is the show for you.
So listen to the Education News Comedy Quiz now, because truly, this podcast will change your life.
You'll sleep better, your food will taste better, and you'll probably get promoted at work.
I have so much cosmic energy. I will do a very special energy transfer session only to female and no homo. It's very, very personal, very, very, very sexy, very, very intimate, very sexual transfer session. Only with female, only with pretty female follower, and only with female follower that are under 18 years old, preferably. The last part, I don't know. Probably, though. To keep everyone obedient, Asahara constantly gave his followers massive amounts of LSD and then led them through trips where he would be able to, at this point, convince them that he was Jesus, that's a crazy amount of drugs to, like, put someone on to have them convinced that you're Jesus, right? Because Jesus, classically Middle Eastern, Shoko Asahara, very Japanese, all right? Listen, similar skin colors, but very, very different facial features. But whatever, it worked. He also used other drugs to coerce confessions out of his followers that he would later use as blackmail to keep them in the cult. Other followers were just submerged in either extremely hot or extremely cold water, hung upside down for long periods of time, or locked in a small box and buried alive for more than 24 hours. This does not sound like a fun cult to be. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, if you're going to tell me, hey, join my group, it's the only way you're going to ever achieve salvation. It's the only way you're ever going to reach nirvana. However, we do need you to take a bath in this near boiling tub of water / near freezing tub of water, one or the other. Or we're going to hang you upside down for hours, or we're just going to bury you alive for 24 hours regularly. And it's not just a one-time thing. We're going to do this repeatedly. I'm going to be like, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to YOLO over here. All right. Going to enjoy my one life that I definitely have. And if that's what it takes for salvation and nirvana, I'm just not interested. It's not worth it to me. In 1988, one follower was hung by his legs and then dunked in freezing water. The shock quickly killed him, and his family filed a police report against the cult. However, the lawyer that the family hired to get justice quickly disappeared and was never seen again. Another follower tried leaving the group over this incident, and they were soon found dead. When the group was ordered to burn the body and dispose of the ashes, another follower threatened to go police, and that follower was quickly strangled to death and burned as well. So, you're in it now, dude. Like, you're in it, and you clearly can't escape. You can't go to authorities, or you will die. Over the next few years, the group recruited people in Japan and Russia, attracting young adults who were discontent with the pressures of being successful. They also began using some of their members from the scientific fields to develop weapons, which led them to begin recruiting military personnel from Japan's 1st Airborne Brigade. So this is where it starts to get scary, right? Like, they actually somehow, despite all of their crazy rules and murder, they're starting to get really, really powerful, right? So they start, they've recruited all these people. They've recruited some really smart scientific minds who then know how to develop their own weapons. And because they have weapons, then they can, for whatever reason, they start, I don't know why they had to wait to develop their own weapons before they started recruiting military personnel. I don't know, it's weird. But they's like, oh, we have our very own weapon. Come over here, Mr. Soldier. Come over here and play with our weapon. Not the Japanese military weapon, our own special custom weapon. We have it for you in our special cult. And it was working. By 1995, the group had grown to over 50,000 members with nearly $2 billion in assets. And at some point along the way, I have to ask, like, at what point does it turn from being a cult to just a crazy nonprofit organization, right? Or, just a religious organization or a religion. Cause like, that's what I am trying to figure out. Right. Because you look at all of the world's major religions. All right. We'll take the obvious one, for example. All right. Let's imagine, all right, briefly for just a small little bit, that we lived in a world that was not dominated by Christianity. Right? Let's say that there was just this group of people in your town and they had one building, and it was an ornately designed building. It isn't designed like any other buildings in your town. And every Sunday and Wednesday, they all gather. It's like 100 people, right? And the rest of the time you see them standing on the street corner. They're always wearing suits. All the women have little bonnets and like full-length dresses on. And they're always talking about how they believe in this guy who, performed all these miracles 2,000 years ago. And then he died and then became a zombie and then floated up to heaven. And then he's going to come back one day. And that's why we're doing this, because we don't want him to be super mad at us. He's a zombie. He's literally like the most powerful thing ever. And we just want to be on the good side of that. We want to be on the right side of that history. And we think you should be too. And so just do all of these things. Like, if that was it, right? And that was the only group of people who believe that. Like, that's a cult. Like, that's a weird group of people. And yet, over time, Christianity has exploded. Millions, hundreds of millions of people believe in that. So it's not really a cult anymore. But then at the same time, like, you have these smaller subgroups of Christianity, like Mormonism. Mormonism in and of itself is a Christian, denomination, not considered a cult, but you have offshoots of Mormonism that are considered cults. So, like, I don't know, is it like a numbers thing to where everything starts out as a cult until it gets enough people, and then it's just like, all right, whatever, it's just a part of life. I don't know. But this cult had 50,000 people in it, $2 billion in assets. They owned several properties such as houses, restaurants, a tea plantation, a computer store, a gym, a babysitting firm, and a telephone dating club. Okay. They owned helicopters, boats, gold bars. They manufactured their own meth and LSD, which is crazy. They also sold the Perfect Salvation Initiation Unit, which was this piece of headgear that cost $10,000 per month on a lease. and claimed to synchronize the user's brainwaves with Shoko Asahara's so that they could ultimately reach his level of enlightenment. It didn't. It also helped that the Tokyo metropolitan government granted this cult legal status as a religious organization, which prevented authorities from investigating any activities or doctrine that they were doing. In 1990, Asahara started his own political party and ordered 25 followers to run for Japanese parliament seats with the ultimate plan to eventually become Japan's prime minister and eventually ruler of the entire planet. Look, props to him for having a dream, right? But it's like he's on the side, right? Imagine he's waking up in the morning. He's going over to his LSD factory, which is basically his mind control drugs for his followers. And he is then going over to a board meeting. He's like, okay, everybody, we are going to run for a parliament seat in District 3, 9, and 14. And then ultimately, next year when the new elections come up, you're going to run in the District 7, 8, and 11. And over time, we're going to rule all of the districts in Japan, which will then vote for me to become a prime minister of Japan. Then, that is our 5-year plan. Our 10-year plan. We rule Japan, and then we're going to rule the entire planet of the Earth. And he was dead set on it. And he's got the infrastructure technically to do it. However, when all 25 of his candidates lost in landslides, Asahara changed the group's messaging and began predicting all kinds of disasters to foreshadow the end of the world. It's not the right PR move. Right? All 25 of his candidates lost in landslides because the majority of Japan realized, hey, these people are crazy. All right? These people are absolutely nuts. And common sense would dictate, right? You take these landslide losses as a message, hey, maybe people aren't ready to accept this yet. Maybe we tone down the rhetoric a little bit. But no, Asahara goes in the opposite direction and gets just predicting all of the disasters to end the world. He then ordered followers to start hoarding weapons, and the group also converted a couple of their facilities into weapons factories where they began producing sarin gas, which was this super toxic nerve agent that was originally developed by the Nazis in 1938. Asahara also began studying the Book of Revelations and restructured the cult to mirror the Japanese government because he's still on this kick. He still fully believes that he's going to rule the world. And so the idea was that, the world would be destroyed. All of these disasters would happen. And then his group is just still going to be there, and they're going to just kind of have to take over everything by default. The problem was that Aum Shinrikyo, according to Asahara, they needed to be the catalyst for all of this to happen, which was fine because of a loophole in Buddhist theology called Thowa that basically said killing people to transfer their consciousness to be one step closer to nirvana was okay. And that's a crazy philosophy to have in any religion. That would be like if in Christianity there was a verse that basically said it's okay to kill someone if you're just going to help them get to heaven. And then that's essentially the same thing, right? Where it's just oh man, grandma's on her deathbed. Do we want to keep her sitting here in this nursing home costing $12,000 a month when she's essentially just a vegetable? Or can we just kill her now? Because it's technically, she's going to go to heaven. So it's not a sin. It's not murder. That's essentially the same thing. So Asahara, he takes this philosophy and he's like, hey guys, we're going to do this. All right. We're going to kickstart the end of the world. And it's okay because Buddha said it's fine. So the first attack occurred a couple of months after all of their election losses when the group tried filling trucks with botulinum, against botulism, basically, which is this toxic bacteria that attacks the body's nervous system And they tried to fill trucks with this bacteria and drive to nearby U.S. bases and rival cult compounds. So that's a crazy thing. It's like, we're not just going to go after the government and the military. We're going to go after our competitors as well and just get everybody out. Unfortunately, no one got sick because the group didn't isolate the right form of the bacteria, I guess. They also tried and failed to extract strains of the Ebola virus from Africa in 1991. They also tried to spray anthrax from the rooftop of their Tokyo headquarters in 1993. However, again, both times, no one ever got sick because the group failed to use the right strain of the bacteria or the virus, which is crazy, right? Like, and I gotta believe that that's someone on the inside doing that wrong on purpose because they just couldn't come to terms with like unleashing that. Because like, I mean, just imagine how crazy that would have been. And they probably would have gotten stopped pretty early on after this. But like, imagine, man, this cult and this crazy scientist that has been brainwashed by this cult gets their hands on botulism or Ebola or anthrax, and they just do all of these, biochemical attacks on Japan and kill all these people. A few weeks after the third failed attack, the group tried another anthrax attack by attaching hoses to vehicles and spraying the chemical at the Imperial Palace and the Tokyo Tower. However, these attacks failed because the spray nozzles got clogged. Like, that's just bad luck. They then tried to assassinate Daisaku Ikeda, the head of the Soka Gakkai Buddhist organization, with sarin gas. They tried using a remote-controlled helicopter with a sprayer attached, but they ended up basically crashing the helicopter before they were able to launch the attack. So like they're just bad. They're really bad at everything at this point. But again, how are you not surprised? In 1994, though, the group started to figure some things out. On May 9th, they released sarin gas into the car of a man who had rescued several people out of the cult. However, they didn't put enough gas into the car's ventilation system to kill him. They just made him really, really sick. A month later, they then spread the sarin gas throughout an entire neighborhood in the city of Matsumoto to take out 3 judges who were overseeing a fraud case against the cult. This time, and this is the first one that was really successful, this attack killed 7 people and made over 250 more really, really sick. So, now that the group had successfully figured out bioterrorism, Asahara ordered the group to turn one of their factories into an AK-47 manufacturing plant and to figure out a way to steal blueprints from a military contractor so that they could build their own tanks. Asahara also ordered one of his properties in Australia to start extracting uranium so that they could develop nuclear bombs. Anyone who raised some concerns about this or tried to leave the cult, which at least 9 people did, they were immediately executed. So, like, he's not playing around. He's, like, on the track for world domination. In September, members of Aum Shinrikyo attacked 7 different towns in the Nara prefecture, injuring 231 people. A few days later, the cult attacked Shoko Igawa, a journalist who had been publishing critical stories about the cult. They released phosgene gas into this journalist's apartment while she slept. I don't know if it killed her or just maybe. I think it did. Later that year, on 3 different occasions, the cult tried and failed to kill an attorney who had started a nonprofit to help rescue defecting members and get them back into regular society. However, they did successfully kill 20 of their own former members with VX gas in the process. In October, Asahara decided that he wanted to turn his followers into mindless zombies just to make sure that no one really tried to leave the cult this time. He ordered the cult's resident physician, Dr. Hayashi, to administer up to 600 electric shocks to 130 different followers. These shocks were so intense that followers forgot their own names or what group they were even a part of. After the group then murdered Tadahito Hamaguchi, nailed that one, who was suspected of spying on the cult, the Japanese government grew concerned with the cult finding. Which, how does the Japanese government go this long without, paying attention, right? Because here's the thing. They've already conducted like over half a dozen attacks, right? Not even counting the 3 or 4 that failed, right? But like they tried to assassinate, there was one failed assassination attempt. Okay, fine. It's one guy. Things happen, right? But then they released sarin gas into a whole neighborhood. Apparently, 250 people got sick, 7 people died. Government was just like, oh man, it's crazy out there. Oh God. They then they attacked 7 different towns. So that's one attack in one neighborhood, and then 7 more attacks in different towns. So again, in the Nara Prefecture, what is the government doing? Like, how do you know? And then they have 3 more assassination attempts that basically killed 20 of their own members. So, I mean, that problem's kind of solving itself. So it's crazy that like it took this long for the government to kind of start paying attention, right? They also, and honestly, it also took Asahara moving up his prediction of the start of World War III from 1999 to November 1995. So like in a few months. And so the government was like, oh, we are not going to have a World War III. We are not, no, we need to pay attention to this occult. They're saying some very crazy thing. And so Asahara also began predicting the assassination of President Clinton and also became publicly anti-Semitic because, I mean, why not at this point? Like, you've checked off all of the boxes. So let's just go ahead and hate Jews on top of it. Like, it's like, I don't know. For me, like, Japanese people are so far removed from Jewish people that it's crazy that anyone in Japan could be anti-Semitic. But here we are. On March 20th, 1995, after 4 more attacks, members of Aum Shinrikyo placed 5 bags of liquid sarin on 3 different train lines in the Tokyo subway system. At 8:02 a.m., with all of the bags leaking gas, the alarm sounded and the trains stopped on the lines, trapping people inside. The commuters eventually broke out of the train, carrying the sarin gas with them on their clothes and spreading it to others, exposing as many as 6,000 people. However, because Aum Shinrikyo was still bad at making good chemical weapons, the sarin wasn't pure enough to be as deadly as it could have been. It was still bad, right? Like 13 people still died, unfortunate. 5,500 others were like seriously injured, seriously sick from it. But it could have been way worse. And that one is, I think, the most famous attack that most people have heard about, but could have been way worse. 2 days later, police raided Aum Shinrikyo compounds in Tokyo because it was pretty obvious by now that they were behind it. Like they weren't hiding behind the fact that they were trying to bring about the end of the world. In response, Shoko Asahara released a video denying any involvement, but would also spend a lot of time talking about how Japan would collapse and the world would end. After 3 more failed attacks, Asahara was finally arrested on May 15th while hiding in a secret room on his Mount Fuji compound. Over the next several weeks, as many as 200 other cult members were arrested. Asahara adamantly denied any involvement because he was blind and couldn't possibly, Your Honor, officer, I just a very simple blind man. I could not possibly orchestrate all of the attack on all of the Japanese people. I'm very blind. I cannot see. You know what's crazy about what I just did right there? I did that whole impression with my eyes closed, as if I were blind. Like, I really got into the character there for a second. That's so dumb of me. Anyway, his 16-year-old daughter, Reika, then took over the cult and attempted to have hydrogen cyanide bombs planted in the subway. Like, she's fully bought in, man. Like, Dad's on it. And if Dad couldn't do it, gosh darn it, I'm going to do it. And tried to have hydrogen cyanide bombs made and planted in the subway system. That did not work. Obviously, it failed. Asahara's trial began over a year later after 3 more failed attacks and would last for 8 years, mostly because it took prosecutors that long to go through all of the evidence they had against him. In 2000, the remaining members of the group changed the cult's name to Aleph, denounced all violence, and claimed that they were returning to their spiritualist roots. Aleph still exists today and has roughly 1,500 members kind of spread out, between like Japan, Russia, Australia, a few other places. On February 27th, 2004, Shoko Asahara was found 100% guilty on everything and was given 13 death sentences. After exhausting all of his appeals, the death sentences were upheld, and in response, Asahara refused to eat unless he was spoon-fed, wore adult diapers because he refused to go to the bathroom, and then refused to talk to anyone for the next 10 years, which is fine, like whatever. Like, ooh, big statement there. Asahara, along with 6 other high-ranking Aum Shinrikyo leaders, were executed on July 6th, 2018. 6 other members were executed 3 weeks later. Despite swearing off violence, members of Aleph made numerous threats over the years, and several raids on gathering of former Aum Shinrikyo members were made all over Europe. So, like, they're still plotting and scheming out there, but probably, highly unlikely that they're really going to ever do anything.
All done.
That's it. Shoko Asahara, Aum Shinrikyo, and the Summer of Cults in the books. Let us recap and see what we learned today.
What did we learn?
Number 1, yes, that music bed was a little bit shorter than it normally is because my wife finally told me that's way too long. And she was right, but whatever. Number 2, Shoko Asahara, partially blind, probably 80% blind. His brother was totally blind, went to a school for blind children, and he got all high and mighty about it because he could see slightly better. He could see shapes and colors slightly less blurry than pretty much everyone else, and that turned him into a maniacal cult leader. Number 3, had grand plans to take over the entire world and bring about Armageddon, from taking over the Japanese government to ruling planet Earth. Tried to launch several bioterrorism attacks over Japan. Most of them failed, but the most famous one being the sarin gas attacks in the Japanese subway system. Ultimately, killed probably anywhere from 30 to 50 people over time, which is not cool, but could have been way worse. Could have been absolutely way worse. And then he was ultimately executed by the government.
What did we learn?
Next week on Our Weird World, we are into Serial Killer September, and it's a big one this year. 5 Mondays in August, which means you get 5 episodes of nothing but serial killers. We're going to start next week with a trio of South African serial killers with the stories of Elifasi Masomi, Moses Sitole, Cecilia Stein, and Richard Nyauza. So that was 4. I think I said 3, but whatever. We'll also have a couple of serial killer samplers in there. And then we're also going to cover the stories of Israel Keys and the biggest one, the scariest one, I'm saving for the end, of Robert Ben Rhodes. So September's going to be fun, as always. And that'll do it for today. Thanks so much for continuing to listen. Keep telling all your friends, and keep it weird.
This is a podcast